Hello Mimi makers, and welcome to our next sock knitting video for the heart-shaped heel. This is also a very wonderful and relatively easy to knit heel, very similar to the traditional heel or heel flap, but a little bit different in the heel turn, which you can see it will give you that signature heart shape at the bottom. This heel is really great for people with a high instep and a wide heel in the back. So if that is something that you're looking for, then the heart-shaped heel is for you. In my sample, I have knitted a 2x2 cuff at the top, and I actually continued the 2x2 rib pattern throughout the front, which really makes the sock, this one, fit really nice and snug. And I really hope that you enjoy this video. I've been knitting with this beautiful color. It's a nice orchid purple. This is the LANA GROSSA Cool Wool for socks, which is a merino sock yarn in a 4-ply, and I'm also using the LANA GROSSA colored wood needles in a 2.5 millimeter. So I hope you enjoy this video. So I'm knitting my sock with 4 double pointed needles. And if you have read the reference chart that I always seem to be referring to, they often talk about the needles as well. So this would be needle 1. So from the beginning of the round, this would be needle 1, 2, 3, and 4. If you are not knitting on double pointed needles, you can definitely set stitch markers or count your stitches to still achieve the same result. But just for the purposes of the chart, I will be referring to the needles on my work. So for the heart-shaped heel, so I've knitted my cuff, and I've knitted a little bit of just preparation rounds for the beginning of my heel. So as you can see, like in the back where my heel will be, I did 3 rounds of just knit stitches, but I will be continuing the front with the rib pattern for demonstration purposes on how you would continue that pattern. So for the heel, we do knit only over the needles 1 and 4, and we will not knit the stitches on needle 2 and 3 for the heel part right now. So when you're ready, you're going to look at your chart for the shoe size you're knitting. So in my case, I'm knitting a size 37-38, 60 stitches on all needles with this beautiful 4-ply yarn. And it tells me that I need to knit 28 rows. So I'm going to be going back and forth over needles 1 and 4, 28 rows. So I have come to the end of my first row, because the beginning of the row would have been here at the beginning of needle 4. So this is my first row, the right side row, and then I will turn the work to begin row number 2, a wrong side row. Therefore, the first stitch of a row is not knitted. We will just slip it purlwise to our free needle. And then we purl all the stitches on needle 1 and 4. Now we've made it to the end of round 2, which was a wrong side row. We'll turn our work around. For our third row, which is a right side row again, on needles, starting on needle 4, we're again going to slip the first stitch purlwise with the yarn in the back, and then we're going to knit the rest of the 29 stitches, needle 4 and 1, all the way. And now I've completed row 3, which was a right side row. I'm going to turn my work around again, slip the first stitch and purl back. And I'm going to continue in this fashion back and forth until I have done 28 rows in height. Now that I've finished my 28 rows, my sock looks like this. So you'll see this is my heel flap. So at this point it still looks exactly the same as the traditional heel or heel flap, but from here on out it's going to become slightly different. Now we're going to do the heel turn. So first we're gonna knit to the center of our heel, so we'll knit the 15 stitches on needle 4. And now on needle 1, this is where it gets interesting. We're going to knit the first stitch, and we're going to slip 1 as if to knit, knit 1, slip 1 as if to knit, knit the next one, and then pull the slip stitch over and knit 1 more stitch. Now we turn. So now the first stitch we are going to slip as if to knit. For that our yarn needs to be in the back. We slip this one as if to knit. Then we purl 3 stitches. That's 2 on this needle. 1, 2, and 3. Then we're going to purl 2 together. And then knit, purl 1 more stitch. And then we will turn around again. Now again, the first stitch, we are going to slip as if to knit. Then we're going to knit 4 stitches. Which brings us right to the stitch that we were decreasing before. And the stitch that we had slipped at the beginning of the row, we're going to slip it again as if to knit. We're going to knit the next stitch. We're going to pull this slipped stitch over, and we will knit 1 more stitch, and we'll turn our work. Now we're going to again slip the first stitch as if to knit. Now purl 5 stitches. Which also brings us back to the first slip stitch on this side, and we're going to purl these 2 stitches together. Purl 1 more stitch and turn. Now we're going to continue with this principle of always slipping the first stitch as if to knit, knitting on the right side all the way to our first slip stitch of the previous row, and then decreasing there and turning our work until all of the stitches on the sides are used up. So now I've used all of the stitches on both of my needles, and I ended up with this beautiful heart-shaped triangle on the back of my heel. I hope this was easy enough for you to understand, but it does give this really, really beautiful triangle shape. So now we get to pick up stitches on each of the sides of the heel. Now that we finished our heart-shaped heel turn, we're gonna knit across all of these stitches so we can start picking up stitches along the sides of our sock. Okay, so now we're on this side and it's time to pick up our stitches along the sides. Since we have worked in the slip stitch at the beginning, that makes it so easy to really see which stitches we need to pick up, which I really love about this slip method. We're going to have to pick up a total of 15 stitches, 14 for every 2 rows that we've knitted in height, plus 1 stitch between the side and this needle, so that in my case that is 15 because I knitted 28 rows. And because we did the slip stitch at the beginning of the row, we do actually have 14 of these almost chain stitch like looking stitches. Before I knit them, I actually pick them up with my needle and then knit them afterwards, and I will show you how I do that. So I'll take my free needle that I have here and I locate these stitches, and then I pick up going from the back to the front. So this one right here, this one right here would be my first one. So back to front, then this would be number 2, back to front, number 3, and so on. And then we will pick up 1 more stitch from the yarn that is right in between, that connects this last stitch to this stitch, also back to front, and then we have 15 stitches on our needle. Now I'm going back to where my yarn is, right here between needle 1 and my helper needle, and we're going to knit all of these 15 stitches onto this needle, and we're going to knit them through the back loop, which gives them an extra twist to make them nice and tight so that we have no holes at the end of this. Now I've knitted all of these through the back loop, and you can already see how they got that little twist, and they're just really nice and tight, so there's going to be no gaps or holes on the side of my heel. Now we're going to knit across needles 2 and 3, which are the front of your foot. If you have a manila sock, you would just be knitting in stockinette stitch. I chose to knit in this rib pattern, and I just wanted to show that on purpose, just so that you can see that you can continue in a pattern. So here I'm going to continue in my rib pattern so that I do have the rib pattern at the front of the foot of this sock. Now that we've made it to the end of needle 3, we're back here to the other side of our heel, where we're going to do exactly the same as what we just did, just in the reverse. So now that we're on this side, we're going to first pick up this stitch right here with the yarn that connects the stitches to the right and the side of the heel. So that's our stitch number 1, and then we're going to pick up the 14 stitches along this side where we have that chain stitch. And again, we're going to start with going from back to front through these stitches. Now, since I have no more needles left in my case, I'm going to slip the remaining stitches of my needle 4 onto this needle. And I can use this needle to knit all these stitches. And remember to knit the first 15 stitches through the back loop, and then the last stitches that were from the heart-shaped part in regular stockinette stitch. Now that we've picked up all of the stitches on both sides, first we're gonna knit 2 rounds over all stitches in stockinette stitch. Alright, so now we've knitted our 2 rounds. You can see how beautifully our sides are shaping up here. And yeah, I did continue knitting in pattern over the front 2 needles, and I did stockinette stitch over needles 1 and 4. And now we're doing our gusset decreases on the side, which happen in this area on needles at the end of needle 1, the beginning of needle 4. For this, we're going to knit to the last 3 stitches on needle 1. When we are at the last 3 stitches, we're going to knit these 2 together and knit 1. Work in your established pattern over needle 2 and 3. And on needle 4, we're going to knit the first stitch, slip the second stitch as if to knit, knit the third stitch, and then pull the slipped stitch over, and then knit to the end of needle 4. Now we've finished our first gusset decrease, and we're going to continue this until we have the same amount of stitches as we did at the beginning. So I started with 60 stitches, 15 on each needle, and that's what I want to end up with, 15 on each of these needles until and then I'm finished with my gusset decrease. So I will be yet again knitting 2 rounds without a decrease, and then in every 3rd round I will work that exact same decrease until I end up with my 15 stitches on these 2 needles. Okay, now I have finished my gusset decrease. Now all of my needles have the same amount of stitches. I'm back to 60 stitches and my heel is done. Now this was the heart-shaped heel for you. I really hope that you enjoyed this video. I would appreciate if you hit the like button and if you leave me a comment on my video, and if you don't want to miss our upcoming knitting videos, then please subscribe to our channel. Thank you so much. Bye.